fellas, we're back for another episode. We're ready to go. Episode 31. We're just
going to say what number are we on, because we're getting up there now.
Almost getting to my age, which is 32.
Yeah, I see what you did there. I can tell you, it's the toughest thing to try and keep track of what episode we're on when I'm trying to plan these out. Like, I'm trying to remember, because we've had, technically it's like season 3, but we're like episode 5. Anyways.
Thank God for Notion. Hey,
yes. Keep track of everything. So
hey, we'll do an episode about Notion. How about that?
I would love to, because I feel like I'm going to learn why y'all talk, because I still don't understand it.
Do you think the average, off topic, do you think the average person can learn Notion?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Do they have to have tech knowledge to know Notion?
No.
I think it's situational. I think it depends on what you're trying to do, because I'm a big Apple Notes guy, and I think it's very powerful, but I also use Evernote.
Yeah.
But
people are listening right now. They're like, I have no idea what Notion is.
That's what I'm about to say.
It's like Evernote on steroids. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Well, some people like me, I actually Googled how to get a template from Notion, and it popped up this podcast template, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll load that in there. Yes. It costs like $30 or whatever.
I was going to say, for anybody that's listening that doesn't know, and you're trying to figure out how to stay organized, people sell templates, so you don't have to do it yourself.
That's right.
You can learn. It's a great topic. I mean, look, that for me as a creator and a content or a creative director, I've got to have systems and processes, so I know projects, where we're at when people submit them. So things like this is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love it, Benji. It helps me keep track of everything. So, but
watch this. It really helped change our trajectory.
Wow, that was
dad
not
joke.
As bad as
dad joke.
Brady's bad dad jokes that he gives us. You have a chance at the end of the episode to redeem yourself, Brady. So please, as we're talking, think through that. I need you to redeem that. That was bad.
Okay. We'll see what we can come up with.
Well, let's get on track then, because our listeners are like, what podcast have I stumbled into? But no, so we're talking today about when is change too much? And this topic actually came up during our last 2 episodes. We did a 2-parter on, mid-year evaluations. How's your team doing? Do you need to make changes? We talked about how important it is to make changes, how important that maybe you don't need to make change. And I think, Benji, you were sharing that you had some of our listeners that actually kind of were asking you about some of these things, which is where this episode came from. How do you know when change is too much? And to me, that's a valid question, because
it's a great question.
You bend too much and you may break what you've created. So how do you know when that is? So we're excited to kind of jump into that, just talk about what that means, what that looks like. And for you as listeners right now, if you did make those changes, am I going too far to the right, too far to the left, or how do I stay right in the middle? So
yeah, I mean, we did. We had a couple people reach out when it's changed too much, and I thought, like we always would, we'd start off with some kind of story of a company that may have tried change. If you haven't gone back and listened to the 5 coaching habits of an excellent leader, you've got halftime adjustments 1, halftime adjustments 2. Go back and listen to those 3 episodes, because those 3 kind of all tie together, which is going to bring this change point home. We talked about in halftime 1, what changes should be made. We talked about in episode 2 of that, halftime adjustments. When should you not make change? There are times that you don't really need to make adjustments, but there are sometimes you do. So everyone remembers the Blockbuster video company back in the day. You used to have to go down to your local store, retail shop, or whatever, and they
good
had
times. Good Friday night.
Really good time.
It really was.
They even had popcorn in there.
You guys were probably like us. Obviously, Brady and I grew up together. We looked forward to the time when they started putting video games on the shelf.
Oh yeah.
Rent the video game,
And you had to get every bit that you could, because you had to take that sucker back on Monday. You did Friday because you could make it to Monday with it, but you knew you had to play that video game all weekend.
And why was that? Why'd you have to take it back?
You had to return it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, what happens if you didn't?
Oh, then
they're going to charge you a fee.
They're going to charge you a fee. So Blockbuster,
I'm in trouble. There goes my allowance, and I can't run the game the next week.
And they're going to hit your parents' account or whatever, and next time you go in, you're like, this video plus your late fees.
And you used to get fees for not rewinding. Remember, please be kind, rewind?
Yeah.
Be kind, rewind.
Recon rewind.
We're going back in the day. But yeah, Blockbuster Video, I mean, everyone looked forward to going to Friday night, renting a movie, renting a game or whatever, and coming back, having it for the weekend. It was a big deal. And to your point, if you didn't take it back, you had late fees. So there was this little company back in the day called Netflix. And it was actually, before it was Netflix, it was a DVD rental company. What they would do is they would ship you the DVDs to your house. So you didn't have to go to the store anymore. They would ship them to your house in your mailbox. And then when you were done, you would ship them back. And guess what they said? No late fees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Netflix said, hey, Blockbuster, we want to buy you out. And Blockbuster was like, I don't know about this. We want to be a competitor of yours. So they got locked into the retail shop, people coming to their location or what have you. Netflix just said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do it even bigger and better. We're going to go the world of streaming, because back then, Apple, yes, we're Apple fans, as you all know. I think it was 2003. They introduced the whole, we're going to eventually have a cloud service one day where you can stream, you can do this, you can do that. Netflix was like late 2000s. They go, hey, we're going to go ahead and start trying to figure out how we can implement that now. Well, look at Blockbuster. They didn't change. They didn't roll with and there was, by the way, the value on that company was, extraordinary. It would have been, they could have merged with them. It would have been a huge, huge, huge purchase. But they decided not to. And guess what happened? They went bankrupt. So there are times, as Brady talked about, you need to make change. There are times you don't need to make change. But today, as leaders, how do we know when change is actually helping us grow and when it's eroding to trust and focus? Okay. We all agree. We talked about it again the last 2 episodes. Change is necessary for survival. But if you continue to constantly change all the time without clarity, Brady, that's a big word in our organization right now. Yep. Clarity can cause confusion, fatigue, and disengagement. Because if you're not clear and you don't give the expectations to your team of exactly what they should and shouldn't be doing or whatever, they get really confused, right? Yep. And there's this whole, well, am I doing it right? Well, it's not passing down through my company. No matter if you have a company of 5 employees, 50 employees, 500, 5,000, doesn't matter. You still have to cast that down to your team. But here's the thing. Excellent leaders provide a reliable foundation even during the transitions. Reliability doesn't mean resisting the change. It means being consistent in your vision, values, and most importantly, we believe, communication. Mm-hmm. So what are a couple of signs that we're changing too much? Okay. There's this one thing called change fatigue, and then I'm going to open up to you guys to let's talk through it for a second. But team members get burnout, frustrated, or apathy, right? They're like, man, I can't do this anymore. We call that change fatigue. So Adam, Brady, is there an example that you can think of where maybe our team has felt this in the past or even recently?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can think of not only our team, but even other teams. Cause we've talked about it on the show before, but you know, I'm in C12. And so I get the opportunity to get insight from other teams. And we were on a call the other day. We do this thing called, or every month somebody gives a core business presentation. So we get to interview team members from other people's teams. And this actually came up the other day. And so one of both teammates said that, you know, we talked about the shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
Okay. Well, man, this is a great idea. Let's go do that today, you know? And so, and we as leaders, sometimes we get really passionate about that. Well, what it does for the team is, talking about change fatigue, is that was one thing that they were kind of frustrated about, is they said, well, man, 3 months ago, this X was the goal. And so we were working toward X. And then, you know, just last week, the goal completely changed. So we don't know, like, where do we stand? We're always, well, we're going here and we're going here. You know, we're going to have to hire like a virtual chiropractor or something, because our neck's just doing, you know, just keeps going left and right. And so that's what we as leaders, we like new things. I mean, we like to shake things up, and but I think a lot of times it does cause, I know Adam and I have had this conversation before, and it's like, hey, can we decide on something, and can we stick to it, you know?
Yeah.
And and then you just run through it until it's just not working, and then you can change it, if it's really not working. But like we talked about in one of the last episodes, I can't remember if it was the last episode or the one before that, but uh, sometimes we want to change, not because it's broken, it's just because it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so as leaders, let's stay the course, and let's see it through.
Yeah. I
Be
mean,
mindful of our teams.
Yep.
yes. And as someone that's been an employee, even somebody that is that, like, I'm not running an organization, doing anything, but someone who is kind of following out what's being asked of me, you start to set your goals, right? Like, you start to set your mind on things. One of the things we actually talked about yesterday, we had our own little strategic plan yesterday for the church. We sat down all the staff. We actually had offsite. It was cool. We went to River Chase Country Club over here. It just spent half the day going through things. And, one of the things that we look at is when you develop your strategic plan, that's your goal for the year. And that was one of the things I told him. I said, look, everything we do this year should strive toward that goal. What is our strategic plan for this year? And if we're doing things that aren't moving toward that goal, then why are we doing them?
That's
Right.
right. That
So-
that is so good, Adam. So good.
So, and that was something I had brought up with our pastor. I said, we've got to set these goals and move toward them. And so, because then you're just wasting time, right? Like, if it's not meeting the overall goal, you're wasting time. So as an employee, sometimes when you're changing too much, I may have based my year or what I'm trying to do or the processes I'm putting in place, not just with me as an employee, but if it's someone that I'm managing people, it looks like there's inconsistencies from me as a leader because we're starting to change. Well, like you said, Brady, I thought it was a great point. You said, well, like a few months ago, this was it, and I understand you're going to meet goals, right? Like you're achieve those. So you need to put things in place, but those overall big things, your processes, if they're not broken, but you're changing them just because you find something else, it's going to hurt that. And then I feel like you're not going to be moving toward that ultimate goal that you're looking for the year.
Yep.
well, and I think one thing too here is, as human beings, it is hard for us to focus on multiple things.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know a lot of people, and I was in this boat at some point in time, and I was like, you know what? I'm a great multitasker, right? There is no such thing as multitasking, okay? There might be microtasking, but there's no such thing as multitasking. So think about like your situation. Let's say you're like focused in on working on a project. I was talking to one of our teammates the other day, focused in on working on something, working on a task, a project, whatnot, and then you get a phone call, and you're like, do I, and you take the call, and then turns into a 30-minute conversation. Then you get done. What happens? We lost focus on what we were doing, and now we have to refocus, and that takes a lot of effort. So that's what I think where that change fatigue comes in, is losing focus on what we decided we were going to do just to go chase something different.
Yeah, because how long does it take you to pick up and go, now where did I stop there? I gotta.
Right.
So actually the second one is loss of focus. Your goals and priorities shift so often that nothing gets executed, and you look up throughout the day and you go, well, I was scheduled to do 1, 2, 3, but man, I did 7, 8, 9. I never even touched 1, 2, 3. So I totally understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Well, there's I can't remember who said this. We'll have to find it, but somebody said, when everything's important, nothing is.
Yep.
Yep.
So when we're not
Those-
focused in on what we're trying to do, trying to accomplish the goal, the target, then it's like, I don't know what's important. Everything must be important. That can't be the case.
Well, I think. Go ahead, Adam. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, I think that's great because that also kind of puts you in a place to look at that change. Like, is your focus too because you've got too many things you're getting put on you? Like, do you have processes in place to say, that's one of the things we're working through now. We get a lot of requests. We have the ability to do things that we never could before at the church, and so our creative team feels that pressure because we want to have a sense of excellence, right? Like, hey, I've got somebody now that can help me do it better than I did. But I sense that a lot where you have that accessibility to come in and walk in the door and do that. One of the things that we talked about yesterday, when you're talking about change, is we need to move away from a mom and pop mentality
Mm-hmm.
to a large corporation mentality. And what I mean by that is mom and pop, I could walk in your office, Brady, and be like, hey, Brady, you got 5 minutes? I got to talk to you about something and do it.
Yep.
But we're not there, and we've moved past that. I think, yes, in our beginning years, like with Team Wilson, yes, we could do that. We could walk in your office and ask that. And I don't see it as a disrespect from you guys. I look at it as you got to be focused on what you do because we're running a larger, well-oiled machine. Now, if we need to have something to talk to you about, I need to look at your schedule and schedule time with you.
Yep.
So I can fit that. And that's also a way to respect the person that you're trying to do as well, or trying to help, so you don't lose focus. And it can be, because if I don't follow through in what I'm supposed to do, you're going to lose trust in me. Be like, well, I can't ask Adam because he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then just your team culture starts to deteriorate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You look up and, I mean, again, going to the next one, people start to distrust the leadership because you're constantly trying to change. And they can't ever follow through. Like we were just talking, they can't ever follow through with the task at hand because, hey, you need to shift over here. You need to shift over here. You need to shift over here. So they start losing trust in the leadership, which ultimately leads to potential high turnover because your employees, they feel like it's a chaotic environment and they can't stay focused on it.
Yeah.
I mean, a real example here is from us, and I'll just pick on myself, but our team, as you guys know, I like to read. I like to listen. I like to learn, and sometimes that gets magnified and gets kind of put on our team. And I guess it was about 3 or 4 months ago, they were like, Brady, you read as much as you want to read, but like, don't quit trying to implement the next newest book or the next newest strategy because we're getting tired. We haven't done the last thing that you asked us to do. We haven't done or read the last book or implemented that thing. And so we as leaders have to be willing to learn, and it didn't stop me from doing those things. It just stopped me from maybe sharing until we've got the last thing that we try to implement. So just be cognizant of that, I think, as a leader.
Yeah. And so here's the question, okay? We talked about a few episodes ago, the 5 coaching habits of excellent leader. I thought we might recap that for a second because these are leadership habits that can manage the pace of your change. Brady just talked about it without saying it this way. Remember, the first one was explain expectations. So we got to be clear on why the change is happening and how it can align with what Adam mentioned, the long-term goal. Because if it doesn't fit in the long-term goal, you might have a couple subpoints under there to help you get to the long-term goal. But why are we making this change, but it's not aligning to the long-term goal, to the strategic target, to that point? Very, very important to remember. Next, ask questions. Remember, like Brady just said, the team said, well, you're giving us this next book or this next highlight or whatever. We haven't completed the one you just talked about. So keep your team involved, because let them be an open forum to provide that positive feedback before we decide to roll out the new changes. And like Adam mentioned a few minutes ago, you're always going to have those quarter-to-quarter things. You might accomplish that task, and you're like, you know what? I've accomplished that one, but now I need to have a new task that helps me get to the strategic goal, get to the long-term goal. Yeah. So use them for that. So
you can.
Yep. Go ahead.
You can develop a system for that. I mean, that's something, Brady, that you're doing. Right now, you're going through. You created something called Coffee with the CEO. Gives you a chance to say, "Hey guys, this is an open forum. Nobody other than the people in this room know what we're talking about. I want you to share with me what is working. What is not working. Okay, you say it's not working, but you need to provide an example why. You can't just say, oh, we don't have system and processes. Well, that seems very broad. We need to narrow that down, right? Like you're like, when you say that, what does that mean? So I think giving someone to do that, involving the team and asking them those questions and having them be specific. We talked about that yesterday because we did exactly that. We put issues on the board and our pastor was like, hey, okay, great. These are great examples. We got communication. We got this. We got that. Communication's like this. Like, it's huge. It's a broad spectrum. Do you mean like with our church members? Do you mean with our staff, our serve team or our dream team? Sorry, that's what we call ours. Do you mean just students? Like, what does that mean? So I think something where you sit down and start asking those questions, like, all right, great. You think that's an issue. Let's narrow that down and figure these things out So now we can say, all right, this is your input. And then they're seeing if there is change involved, they're seeing change. What I feel like is from what the suggestion came.
Well, and that I think that's a great point because us being a large-ish organization, one of the things that we have a communication gap, and really it's a cascading communication gap. So
Yep.
one thing that a coffee with the CEO does is we may put a change in at the top and say, okay, leaders go implement this change all throughout the organization, and then people get frustrated because it's like when you were in grade school and you do the whole gossip game.
Oh
The
yeah.
person that was told first, and then by the time it makes it through 20 people, the content is different. Well, when I get to sit down with everybody, then you start to hear some of these concerns. Hey, what's not working? And I said, well, let me take you back to the why we decided to do that. And it's been amazing to say, they said, man, if I would have heard it like that,
Mm-hmm.
then I would have got on board with it.
Yep.
So those are some growing pains that we're going through in our organization is even changes that we made back in January.
Yep.
We're not changing something else up, but changes that we've made haven't really cascaded with clarity down to the people that really need to understand what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know hope's not a good strategy. And
It
I
is
know
not a good
it's
strategy.
not. But what I want to do is provide hope. Like, look, we have our team is nowhere near the size of the team that you guys have. We're 10 to 15, and we still experience that.
Oh yeah.
And you would think, well, I mean, that's 10 to 15 people. You should easily be able to have that communication. But that's where I was saying, like, we've got to get out of the mom and pop mindset. Like, I'm just going to walk in Adam's office and say, hey, man, I need this video. Can you knock it out? And
Right.
I want to say, well, yes, but we consider ourselves small but mighty, right? Like we have a very large amount of people on campus on Sundays, and it's a lot of pressure. And so there's pressure from all different ministries in the church that needs to get done. So we need to find these projects because we don't want to just be good at these projects. Like we want to be excellent. We want to
That's right.
set the standard. We've talked about that. Like, hey, we as a creative team want to be the standard. We feel like we spend our time looking at whatever churches are doing, looking at the bigger churches, your Elevations, your Church of the Highlands, your Life Church. We want to get to where we don't do that anymore. We want to have our process. I mean, yes, you're going to look at that for encouragement. You're going to look
Yeah.
at that for ideas, but we want to be able to be the standard and do those things. And that's something that we experience even as a small team, the same thing that you guys are experiencing on a larger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have mentioned it. We involve the team, get their ownership in the change. How it's going to be implemented? Because again, remember, not too much. And measuring the results. I wanted to kind of park here a second because we've been talking about something in our leadership teams that I think could help other leadership teams. Whether each change is actually delivering the value. There's a big difference between KPI and KPM.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be good for Brady to kind of share that because people don't understand you've got a metrics, but you have an indicator. So
Yep.
Brady, touch on that just a second.
Yeah, I think what we've realized here recently is that we have a lot of KPMs. We have a lot of data, but what are the indicators that are leading us to making the right decision? So I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but KPIs and KPMs are not the same thing. A KPI is a key performance indicator, and a KPM is a key performance metric. So the way that you look at it is a KPI is the windshield, and the KPM is a rearview mirror. So you got to look at both. You got to see where you've come from, where you've been, what you've been through, all those types of things. But what are the windshield and the dash? So like and it could be different. It's different for every organization. It's different for every department. The analogy I like to use is the three of us drive a different vehicle. Okay, so if we are driving down the road and our gas light comes on. All right. Well, for each one of us, that means something different. For Adam, it may be, I got to pull over now because if I don't, then I'm going to run out of gas. For me, it could be, I got 60 miles left. I can make it, to home and church and back and do that twice or, whatever the case may be. But it's an indicator, silly example, but an indicator of something that you need to take action on now. And so
Yeah.
think about that in your business, and these indicators are if the I guess the thing about it is if you get the indicators right and you act on the indicators, everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be able to look at your metrics and say, "Oh wow, you know what? Yeah, we had good revenues, we had good profits, we had good whatever the case may be, but we paid attention to the indicators. We made decisions on those indicators that we needed to make in the moment, and not it's more of a practice of being proactive versus reactive. Being proactive and making those adjustments as you go. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I would always rather just I don't want to react to everything because then I feel like I'm not ready for it. I'm not planned. I want to be proactive and know, all right, how much is it going to cost me? What do I need to have? What should I do? Where should I go? How should I plan? Like I always want to make sure that I'm proactive, that and not reacting to a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always trying to be proactive, not reactive.
Yep.
So, and then last but not least, just appreciate people, recognize their effort. So, wanted to talk through as we wrap this episode up, a couple of leadership takeaways that you might could take home with you, pass along to your team. Again, we're on YouTube, so you can actually watch this with your team. It's a great tool. But anchor and vision, keeping the North Star consistent so that your team has something to hold on to during the transitions. Again, there are when it's changed too much, it's all up to the business. It's all up to the leader. You have to be able to figure out what that looks like and pace it accordingly.
Yep.
Because if you try to, again, as we've been talking, make too much change. I love the analogy Brady used of the virtual chiropractor. They sometimes they're on their heads on a swivel and they're like, man, which way do I go? So make sure that when you introduce these shifts in manageable waves, rather than just all at one time, because it can really cause issues.
Well, and just to talk, kind of dive back to what you're saying, that Brady, I love that because I go to a chiropractor that's not your typical, right? Like most people see it on social media, think you go in and they crack you up and down, right?
I think I go to the same one.
We do. We go and it's a very different process.
It is very different.
But I'm in there, what, 5 minutes, maybe 10
Mhm.
minutes if I'm chatty with the doctor that I use.
Yep.
But I even said something to Emily the other day. I said, I can't tell if it's working. Like, is it?
Yeah.
Like, do I feel it? Is it working? I just
do
have
you
my
hear it?
yearly.
Do you hear it?
You do.
It's probably working.
But I just have my yearly, so we're going through the eval. And I told my doctor, and I love him. He's great. He's super nice guy. I love him. And I told him, I was like, Dr. Marty, like, I told Emily, is it working? Like, I mean, it's not, we're paying this monthly. We're doing it. Do I need to keep doing? And he made a point, and I don't feel like he's doing it just to keep me there as a patient. He said, Adam, you have to think, you're maintaining. Have you had another injury like you had a year ago? And I threw my back out, putting my pants on, y'all. Like, literally put my pants on. I mean, you guys remember me walking around that office.
Wait, how old are you again?
I'm 41. So
It was the
try to hold
deadlift
on
the
to
day
it.
before.
Yeah. But y'all remember, like, it was bad. But he's not wrong. And my point is,
Yeah.
I go in, and when I tell you it's minor, like, I go in every 2 weeks maybe, and he makes an adjustment on my neck, and he talks to me about how I'm feeling. And I'll tell him, like, hey, my shoulder's bothering me. I know that, of this. Hey, I'm feeling it, and where I threw my back out, and he'll make a couple minor adjustments. But I haven't done it again, and I feel healthy with it. So, I mean, you may not realize those small, minute changes. You're not making you're not making big ones. They may not seem apparent right now, but I feel like over time you're going to notice, hey, this is working. Like, this is injury prevention. Like, I haven't. I've been able to go in and deadlift heavyweight again, or I've been able to pick up my kids or something like that. So, you talked about that so frequently, Brady. It made me think more. I mean, that's what I'm just thinking. Like, is it working? Yes, it is. I can't tell at the moment. But.
So I would change one thing about that. Okay, no pun intended. Change one thing about that. What they're doing is not changing anything. What they're doing is adjusting.
Yes.
Okay, so they're making adjustments. Because I go to the same doctors, Precision Chiropractic. Shout out to them and Pelham. But they're phenomenal. And what they don't put you on the table and, like, crack everything that you got in your body. They have a little machine that says, oh, you got a little inflammation there. Do we need to adjust that area? And then, that area. And so they're using it as a key performance indicator to say, hey,
Look at
that
you.
needs a little adjustment,
Yeah.
adjustment. And what I liken that to is, and this is something we've been telling our team here recently, is I think we as human beings work best when we are in rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So think about a song that you listen to, and then, or somebody, maybe I was going to say at your church and something wasn't in rhythm, but I mean, I guess that could happen. But when something's off rhythm, then you know that it's off. It just feels weird, right? And so the reason you go to the chiropractor and make those adjustments is because you're putting your body in rhythm, and you may not necessarily notice that there's anything going on. It's actually an indicator that you're healthy because there is nothing going on,
Mm.
right? And so what we've been encouraging our team is, whatever our goals, our strategic objectives, all those different things that we've set out for our team, we've got to beat the drum, and we've got to stay in rhythm and keep communicating and keep saying the same things and making sure that we're cascading it down to our employees and doing it the same way every single time. And we've talked about this on the show before, but every leader that's out there is the chief reminding officer.
Yep.
You should be a broken record. You should get some proverbial eye rolls when you keep saying the same things over and over and over again, because that's when you know that people have got it and it's sunk in, is because it's like, oh, yeah, there goes Adam again. He's talking about the, whatever the case may be, but you know that it's making root.
Yeah. And you just said it, Brady. Communicate often, repeat the
Yep.
why behind
Right.
the change until it's clear and connected
Yeah.
to the big picture. Beat the drum.
That's so good. We talked about yesterday about like serving, right? People serving, and culturally we're at a place where everyone's busy, I mean, I feel like culture teaches us if you're not busy, you're doing something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
finding people to be on part of the serve team can be tough. And one of the things we talked about was we need to do a better job in teaching why a life of servanthood is important. And that's something, and we felt like we do, but we need to be better at it, like
Yeah.
explaining that, like,
Yeah.
hey, why is it important to do things for others and not expect anything in return? Why is it good to do that? So I to me, that's just so important with anything that you're doing, because if they understand the why,
Yep.
they're going to keep doing it,
And they'll want to do it more too.
want to
I
do
mean,
more. Yeah.
I mean, I'll state the obvious, Captain Obvious, but Jesus said, "I came to serve, not to be served."
Yeah. That's exactly right.
100%.
So yeah, and think about this. Remember, not all change is worth making, but guard the values and behaviors that can make your business stronger. And I want to hone in on this as we wrap up, but let's recap the main point today. Change is healthy when it drives growth, but harmful when it erodes trust, focus, and stability. Okay?
That's good, Benji.
Reflect back on this, listeners. Reflect on this. Am I leading my team? Now, this doesn't mean you have to be a business owner for any listeners out there. It could be someone in leadership, management. Maybe you're on the ground supervisor, whatever that may be. It could be just the role that you play on whatever team you're on. Am I helping lead my team through intentional change or accidental chaos? When I found this, it hit home with me. Am I leading my team through intentional change or accidental chaos? Keep the North Star, moving in the right direction. If it doesn't drive back to the main goal, why are we doing it? Listeners, we want to just thank you all for tuning in today. We want your feedback. If there's a story that you have out there that you've navigated through change, and we would love to share it on the show or be able to, help just give you some pointers, reach out to us at Higher Up Podcast on any of our social platforms, online, thehigheruppodcast.com. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, go out there and choose to live a higher up life. See you next time.